Wellness Broadcast. Let's do this. You're plugged into the Wellness Broadcast. I'm Frank Sardella, chiropractic and wellness advocate, here to help you bring out your innate wellness potential to put you in control of your own well-being. Now let's bring it. Welcome back to the Wellness Broadcast, everybody. Frank Sardella here, your host, chiropractic advocate. Today's episode is made possible by Instant CalMag C, stress relief made instantly. Today, we're going to take up a very crucial topic. I want to talk to our guest today about the ongoing opioid epidemic and how we can actually revert it. I'm here with Dr. Vito in the studio, and Dr. Vito is very active in his community out there in Scranton, Pennsylvania. With his chiropractic practice, he's been out there, what is it now, 20 years, Dr. Vito?
22 years.
22 years. It's a long time. So Dr. Vito's been working pretty tirelessly out there, and right now with the opioid crisis at an all-time fever pitch, he is really active out there. He's doing talks and workshops out in the community, and he's working patient by patient to really, handle it naturally. So, Dr. V, what is the problem with the opioid crisis right now? Like, what do you perceive as the thing, and what is your axe to grind with it, really?
Well, it's too available, and it's also become a quick solution to an ongoing problem that was really never properly or correctly addressed in many cases. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things, by the way, you bring up the word opioid. There's a difference between an opiate and an opioid, although they both have devastating effects. So an opiate is something that's derived more naturally, and an opioid is more synthetic. Mm-hmm. So regardless, they hit similar receptors within the brain and create the same effects, such as addiction, which, by the way, nobody plans to do.
Right.
Or be.
Right. And it's pretty out there. I actually just wrote an article on it last week, and I was pretty shocked. The only statistics available, I think, as the most recent ones, I think, are like 2017. Like the 2018 statistics aren't even in yet, but they were pretty staggering back then. I can't even imagine. And I think it's getting worse, isn't it?
Constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, your chance of getting killed in a car accident is less than those of one being addicted.
Wow.
Or dying, I should say.
Wow. From
an opioid overdose, which, of course, no one plans on either. So,
yeah.
One might say to themselves, well, boy, that'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
Neither did the other 18,000 people.
So what do you think is the source of that? Like, why are people getting so addicted to these painkillers? Like, what's happening with the whole pain crisis or what have you? Like, what do you think is fueling it?
Well, unfortunately, it starts in our primary care practitioners and our pain management clinics are driving a lot of people towards that, in combination with, of course, the availability of the street drug. There's more and more, it's ironic because, heroin and hard drugs were always, hard drugs. There was always a stigma about them.
Yeah.
But now the problem is that other gateway drugs are being unstigmatized by the government and by their advocates. So it's kind of like a propaganda machine, which is feeding into this because many people go on from softer drugs into these harder drugs, and we have these severe addictions. Now, That's not to say that everyone that smokes pot is going to become a heroin addict, but it does make for availability. I mean, if you want to look at it, and I don't have a problem with this argument, but you have to see and be real, because if you look at it, cigarettes are a gateway drug. Alcohol is a gateway drug. It all depends on, how far and what is going to trigger a signal for someone to go on and do more or become addicted to these, they start in some cases medications. And getting back to the how and why, the largest propaganda machine in this world is the pharmaceutical companies. And Purdue Pharmaceutical once touted that their new drug, OxyContin, is not addictive. And now it's being sold to our doctors, and our doctors are being told all about breakthrough pain, which, applies in some conditions, but it was totally overutilized, totally overapplied, and, wrongfully applied. Let me put it that way. And this is the mess we ended up with.
Isn't there something to be said about sort of a wrongful labeling of a condition, like as an addiction? I mean, it seems to me that it would be unfair to say somebody has an addiction to opioids when the actuality is, if the source of their pain isn't getting handled, what other choice do they have to do than deaden that pain? Is that really some psychological thing, or is it just, a person has no other choice at that point? Doesn't it seem that way? Or?
There comes a point too where it's a physical addiction, and also your body has a way of lying to you, telling you that you're in more pain than what you really are when you're craving the chemical. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff could have been prevented in the first place by natural health care, which some people don't want to hear, and that's the greatest justifier. Oh, well, my pain was too bad. No one could help me, only drugs. When the simple truth of the matter is, if you go to a practitioner that truly understands the body, you have a fighting chance. Now, there are some conditions, understandably, that require this type of medication, but if you look at it statistically, why within the last 5 years or 10 years do we have so many people with addiction, and why do we have such a high use of these medications when 10 years prior, even 20 years maybe by now, the numbers were less, and we didn't have this type of problem with pain because it prolongs it.
It's interesting too, because the thing that seems to get left out of all these studies is what pain actually is in the first place, because there's a drastic mix-up right now in the society of pain and the condition itself. People are confusing pain as the actual condition or disease that they have, when pain really is an indicator. It's an index of something, isn't it?
For sure. It's like the oil light in your car.
Yeah.
And it's more complicated in a lot of cases because it is a multifaceted problem. But again, you also you need to discreetly diagnose the problem from a standpoint of a practitioner and then treat it appropriately. And this, I think, is the biggest problem that we've run into.
So what kind of inroads have you made in your clinic? Because I know you're contributing to, undoing this whole crisis actively, and you're getting some results there. So is there any particular type of case that you're like, this is an example of how I'm actually helping undo this problem? Because I know you're pretty dedicated to this.
Right. Well, I am. And in general, I'm dedicated to helping humanity as a whole. So, the biggest thing that I think we've been able to do is educate our people. And the best way to educate someone is to do it when they're not addicted, when they're not undergoing, pain therapy, or, they're not on pain medication, because the justifier is not there for them to continue. So once you work with a patient to get well and make wellness a goal, instead of continuing to be sick and continuing to be in pain, and not treating the pain, but treating the actual condition, if we possibly can, we're going to have a much better outcome. And that's what's proven to be time and time again. So it all depends on the intention of the practitioner and also the intention of the patient. I've had patients ask me for medication, and they know that I can't prescribe, and obviously don't prescribe, any sort of medication. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm against it. I'm not against medication. I'm against the indiscriminate use of medication. And, my feeling is that if you need to take an opiate or an opioid for more than 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most, then there's an underlying condition that really needs to be evaluated.
Yeah.
Be it surgery or, some sort of other type of treatment or therapy. But the answer is not to. For most people. Most people, there's an answer.
Can you think of a case that you've had that would be more or less exemplary of this, where you've actually given therapy that's been the difference between the choice of, taking these dangerous drugs or living pain-free? Like a really good example of it.
Well, I could always say, if I didn't treat this person, then she would have done this. But I can tell you one case in particular where a patient needed and wanted to get off of medication, but she did have a very large degree of real pain, and she also had pain that was on top of it. But because her brain was telling her that she needed the medication, but instead it really told her she was in pain.
Sure.
So I did work with her closely, and honestly, she was a mess, man. She told me, like patients will tell you, I know that I'm not in as much pain that I want to think that I'm in. I know that, but I need this drug, man. I need it. And, once you're able to educate the patient a little bit and let them understand and validate the patient, then we can start. It's a beginning. And then once we are working together, and it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. It's not easy for me. It's not easy for them. We could move forth and make a difference. And one lady I happened to run into her doing a workshop. And at the end of the workshop, I said, listen, I don't know if I can help you with your condition. All I can say is it's worth the chance to come in and find out. I'm interested in you. Please come in if you think I can help you, or even if you want more information. You have nothing to lose. Fortunately, this person did. And I have to say, I still want to cry when I think about this. But I was able to work with her. She's still a patient till this day. Not only is she off of the medication, but the severe migraine headaches that she was suffering from on a daily basis have resolved. It does take a little bit of care. We still have to stay on top of it. But it's something that's manageable. And she's able to enjoy her life now. She's able to enjoy her grandchildren. She's able to go to the shore. She's able to pick her grandchildren up and enjoy the life that she imagined and that she had envisioned. I mean, otherwise, she was not only in pain, but she was not in present time. She wasn't aware of what was happening. And, of course, with addiction comes malnutrition and a whole host of other illnesses that go with it, because physically your bones will degenerate. So that was the one that stands out.
That's quite a story, Dr. Vito.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can reach Dr. Vito if you are in the Scranton area. I highly recommend reaching out to him, at least to find out the source and cause of what's going on with you or your loved ones. And you can find him on Oak Street. You can contact him at 570-341-7062. And you can follow Dr. Vito on Instagram at Vito_chiropractic. And follow him there. You can find out about all the latest news. In fact, you can DM Dr. Vito on Instagram and get a message back there. But do call the office to get in touch with him if you have any questions about getting rid of your pain naturally and what some of the alternatives are. And Dr. Vito, I want to thank you for being here today and all that you're doing to contribute to undoing this opioid crisis that we're all so painfully aware of.
Well, thank you, Frank. It's a pleasure being here, and I can't help every person, but I will always do my absolute best to get them to someone or some practitioner who can provide them the care that they need and deserve.
Awesome. Today's episode was brought to you by Instant CalMag C, stress relief made instantly, an instant and fast absorbing calcium and magnesium supplement like no other. Stress relief made instantly. And if you're in the Scranton area, you can pick up some Instant CalMag C directly from Dr. Vito at his clinic on Oak Street. And anywhere else, you can go to calmagstore.com and enter promo code STRESS for a special discount off your first order. And to you folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Wellness Broadcast. This is my platform to bring out the innate wellness potential in everyone as a chiropractic advocate, and I will continue to do so. Catch the episodes on thewellnessbroadcast.com, and be sure to follow me on Instagram at thewellnessbroadcast. Send me DMs there with any questions you've had about episodes, and to give us feedback on what you'd like to hear on the show. I thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Be good. The Wellness Broadcast has been brought to you by Broadcast Wellness Productions, copyright 2019, all rights reserved. Executive producer, Frank Sardella. For more information, visit thewellnessbroadcast.com.